GPS. We use it every day. When we find our direction to a particular place, when we share our location to a friend, when we go to a particular shop, when we give permission for apps to give our location, each time GPS is applied. Even each of our mobile phones are GPS receivers. So what is it? Before getting to know GPS in detail, we need to know about Global Navigation Satellite Systems or GNSS. GPS is one among many global navigation satellite systems. GNSS refers to a constellation of satellites providing signals from space, transmitting positioning and timing data. It provides global coverage. Primarily, it needs a number of man-made satellites and ground stations. If you have the required number of satellites and some ground stations all around the world, you can also construct a GNSS. It refers to a constellation of satellites. Constellation means arrangement of satellites around Earth. Examples for GNSS services are Navstar GPS, commonly known as our GPS. Navigation satellite timing and ranging global positioning system. It is made by USA. Another one is GLONASS by Russia, Galileo by European Union, Beidou by Chinese government, and our own IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. Unlike the above ones, IRNSS is navigating only in Indian boundaries or subcontinent of Asia. Okay. All the other above listed GNSS services are global services and GPS is one of them. GPS is a radio navigation system provided by the US Department of Defense. So GPS was first invented and operated by US Defense Department and then they released into global usage for free. Okay. And GPS uses a constellation of 24 satellites to give accurate position of Earth. A GPS receiver or user on Earth will receive radio signal from these satellites, and from this signal it is possible to calculate position on Earth. So you have around 24 satellites revolving around Earth at a very high elevation to give you GPS data all around the globe. And some radio waves will be transmitted from these satellites to the user, and using that satellite radio waves you will be getting positions and time data. Advantages of GPS, some of it you already know. Relatively high positioning accuracy, capable of determining velocity and time of a moving object, signal availability anywhere on globe, that is the main particular. On ground, air, sea, you will get elevation, depth, whatever it is. No user charges, it is absolutely free. All weather system operational at 24 hours. It is working 24 hours and will be working at all weather, any weather. Positioning information is three-dimensional: latitude, longitude and elevation. You can divide the whole system of GPS, the services which came together to make GPS happen, into three components. First segment is the space segment, second one is control segment and user segment. As the name indicates, space segment will be the satellites itself and the services provided for proper working of them. Control segment will be stations, ground station in the grounds. There are stations all around the globe to make GPS happen, and user segment is the user. For example, our mobile is a user segment. Okay. Getting into detail, space segment consists of GPS satellite constellation or arrangement which allows determining the position, velocity and time. It consists of 24 satellites placed in 6 orbits at an altitude of 20,200 kilometers from Earth. Each satellite plane inclined to equator by 55 degrees, orbiting the Earth every 12 hours. Okay. The space segment is so designed that there will be a minimum of 4 satellites visible at any point on the Earth's surface at any time. So you have 24 satellites in 6 orbits at an altitude of 20,200 kilometers, inclined to the equator by 55 degrees and orbiting within 12 hours. So that these all constraints are given so that at any point of time, at any point of Earth, there will be 4 satellites visible. Not by naked eye, but 4 satellites radio signals can be received from a single point. Okay, that is the concept. And furthermore, a very accurate atomic clock having a frequency of 10.23 megahertz in GPS satellites provides the most accurate timing system. That is an important part because you need to have a very accurate time value in this transmitted radio wave. Okay, that will be explained in the coming slides. Okay, moving on. These are the 55-degree inclined orbits, 6 orbits for 24 constellation satellites. Okay. So, basic functions of these satellites are: first one, to receive and store data transmitted by ground control segment. The ground station will be sending some data and these satellites will be storing some. To maintain accurate time by atomic clocks. You need to send accurate timings or time values with these radio waves to the user. So, you need to maintain that accurate time. Third one, the obvious one, transmit information and signal to users. Last one, to provide a platform and orbit for transmitters, so that you will be having at least 4 orbits or 4 orbiting satellites at any point of Earth at any point of time. Okay. Second segment, the control segment. It consists of 1 master station, 5 monitor station and 4 ground antennas. The master station is located at Colorado Springs, USA, and there will be 5 monitor stations and 4 ground antennas for the GPS service. It tracks the GPS satellites, updates their orbiting position and calibrates and synchronizes their clocks. These are the functions for control segments or the ground stations of GPS. So, the main duties and coordination will be done by this major master station at Colorado Springs, USA, and the other duties, subsidiary duties, will be done by monitor stations and other control stations. Okay. Another important function of this control segment is to determine the orbit of each satellite and predict its path for the next 24 hours. As this orbiting of satellites are done by just the gravity of Earth, there may be variation time to time. This control segment will be coordinating and predicting this variation and will be controlling these satellites time to time when the variation arises. Okay. And this corrected and exact position data is called as ephemeris data. Okay, that term is important. The last one is user segment. It consists of a GPS receiver used to receive the signal for determination of position and time. Okay, this user segment will be used by the user who want to use GPS. Okay, so our mobile is a user segment and it will be having a GPS receiver to calculate position and time. Okay. So, we know the components and introduction of GPS, and what is the signal or radio waves sent to user. What is satellite sending to the user, and it is called signal structure. Satellite signal structure consists of 3 components. First one, carrier wave. You know the obvious importance of carrier wave. It is to carry the information to longer distances. As you have learned in lower classes, carrier signal is used worldwide. And second one, ranging codes or pseudo random codes. That is the main information embedded in carrier waves. Last one, navigation codes. They are the general informations for the control segments and users to understand the basic premise of informations. Okay. And the second one will be having the time values and other informations for calculating position, velocity and time. Okay. Carrier waves are generally radio waves. These are of 2 types. For GPS we use L1 carrier wave and L2 carrier wave. It is used to transmit information from satellite to receiver. We know the use of carrier waves generally. The same use is used for in here also. The information or codes cannot travel by itself, so it needs to be modulated on carrier waves for transformation or transmission. It travels towards Earth by the velocity of light, 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, and they are derived from the fundamental frequency of 10.23 megahertz and is generated by our precise atomic clock in the satellite. This is the typical modulation schematics of any modulation. The top one will be the information that should be embedded in the carrier waves. In our case, this is pseudo codes or ranging codes and navigation codes that will be embedded in the carrier waves with higher frequency and lower wavelength. Okay. Second component of satellite signal is ranging codes or pseudo random codes, and it includes two informations: precise code or P code and coarse acquisition code or CA code. Okay. And in this, precise code or P code is used for private, protected and precise codes modulated at 10.23 megahertz. This one is mainly used for military operations. If you need to have a decryptor to understand the information in P code. Second one, CA code, is modulated at 1.023 megahertz. It is modulated on L1 carrier wave only, as opposed to P code, which is done for L1 and L2. Okay. These are degraded or less accurate codes, and it is used for civilian uses. The locations we share, the direction for travel in Google Maps are all based on CA code. This pseudo random code is actually just a sequence of very precise time marks. You will be having very precise time, as opposed to if a second is considered, you will be having a number of decimal points. Okay. That time will be generated by the atomic clock in the satellite and will be set in CA code, and that time will be used for design calculation and etc. Okay. So these are ranging codes. Third and last component of satellite signal sent to user is navigation codes. The satellite orbital position, ephemeris data and clock information, general system status message, satellite health status, clock corrections, etc. This navigation codes will be all general satellite related informations for user and also for ground control centers. So that is signal structure. Next one is working principle of GPS. The working principle on which GPS works is called as trilateration. It is a common practice in geodetic surveying. It is determining absolute or relative location of points based on distance to at least 3 known positions. If you want to calculate an accurate point on the ground, you need to know distances from 3 known points to get it inaccurate. That is trilateration. You applied this on satellites and earth point where user is standing, where you are standing with a GPS receiver. You will be using this trilateration. The method by which you adopt this trilateration in GPS is known as satellite ranging. It is very simple. If you are standing on a ground and you want to know your position, you have 4 satellites around you who can supply signals, right? And first you will be connecting with one satellite, and that satellite will be calculating the distance between you and that satellite. From that single point, from that single value of distance, there will be an imaginary sphere around that satellite with satellite like this, satellite on the center and radius as the distance between that person and satellite. The distance is called as satellite range. Okay. So you will be available in that radius, but accurate position cannot be determined. Then comes the second satellite and third satellite to get this same distances from each of these satellites or of satellite ranges from each of these satellites. With this values, you will be getting into a single point. Like in this figure, that single point will be the user position. Like you in the figure in the left side, if you are using the fourth one, it is for increasing accuracy. Okay, so that is satellite ranging in simple terms. We will get into it more clearly on coming slides. Okay, so how do you calculate this radius or so called satellite range, that is the distance from the user to the satellite. Okay, the satellite range can be measured by two methods. First one, chord phase measurements, and second one, carrier phase measurements. Okay, a GPS signal consists of chords and carriers. We already know that signal is having some codes, code navigation codes and ranging codes, and carrier wave to carry those codes. Okay, if you are using that codes for range measurement, it is called as chord phase measurement. If you are using that particular carrier measurement L1 or L2 for range calculation, it is called as carrier phase measurements, as simple as that. Okay, so how do you measure satellite range? Using codes. When a pseudo random code is generated by satellite reaches a receiver or our mobile or receiver generates the same code and tries to match it with the satellite code. Okay, at the precise time of reception of satellite signal, our receiver will be generating a similar code, and in both these codes time value will be there, accurate time calculation will be there, that will be compared. The receiver then compares two signals to determine how much delay is required in its code to match the satellite code. This time delay shift, when multiplied with the velocity of light, you will get satellite range. It's actually very simple mathematics. Distance is equal to velocity into time. You want to get the distance from the user to the satellite. Okay, the velocity will be equal to velocity of light, because the speed with which this radio wave is traveling from satellite to user is speed of light, velocity of light. Okay, so you got velocity, and to get the distance you need the time only. The time is calculated using the both codes, the one received from the satellite and the one generated at the time of reception of signal. Okay, so when this signal is transmitted from the satellite using the atomic clock in the satellite will be having a time value embedded in the code at the time, and that is the time of transmission of that wave. So you have the time of transmission from satellite, and at the reception point at the user receiver will be generating another wave, and in that wave you will be having, in that code you will be having time value at which it was generated, and it was generated when the signal reached the receiver, right? Okay, so you got the final time at which the signal reached the receiver. Okay, so if you take the difference between both times, accurate difference between both time values of both signals, you will get the time. So distance is equal to velocity into time, you will get satellite range. Hope you understood. Second way of calculating satellite range is carrier phase measurements, in which we are using carrier wave for the calculation of satellite range. Okay, it is the measurement of distance between satellite and receiver expressed in units of cycles of carrier waves. Okay, instead of distance is equal to velocity into time, we are using the equation distance is equal to n lambda plus phi. Okay, we use this equation normally for wave length, or how much distance the wave has propagated, that is the distance. In this case the wave is carrier wave. When the receiver receives the carrier wave or signal from the satellite, that receiver logs onto that signal and it records the carrier phase signal and measures the fraction of wavelength after lock on, and that values will be used in this equation. distance is equal to n lambda plus phi. You know lambda, wavelength of that radio wave. N is number of full wave that will be getting from that information, and also phase measurement after lock on. Okay, that phase measurement will be deciding on the accuracy of distance. So you have the distance by this equation, and that distance is satellite range. Time calculation done by the GPS receiver. It's the same thing we just told on chord phase measurement of satellite range. Okay, the GPS receiver needs to determine the accurate time taken by the radio signal to travel from satellite to receiver. It is done using code signal transmitted by the satellite. When a pseudo random code generated by satellite reaches the receiver, this receiver generates the same code and tries to match it with the satellite code. Receiver compares the two signals or codes to determine how much delay or shift is required in its code to match the satellite code. Okay. This delay time is multiplied with speed of light to get the distance. The same thing you just need to understand in a separate way of under the heading of time calculation. That's it. Okay. The concept is same. This is a typical graphical representation of correlation and finding the time difference between two signals. Signals proceeding from the satellite is the red one, upper one, and code replica generated in the receiver is the middle one, and correlation is found, and from that you will be getting delta t as time delay. That will be multiplied with speed of light. Next one, position calculation by the receiver. When a GPS receiver picks up a signal from one satellite, the position of a GPS receiver will be on imaginary sphere with satellite as center and radius equal to satellite range. We just calculated one. Okay, so in the below diagram it is clear. Considering only one satellite and Earth, you can correlate in an imaginary circle in which any point there may be the user. As the Earth is also a sphere, the intersection of these spheres will create a common circle on the surface of Earth, where we assume any point will be the user position. Okay, then the receiver picks on the second satellite. This helps to narrow down its position. It also calculates the satellite range, and as you can see in the right side of slide, that image represents satellite 1 and satellite 2. With two satellites you can narrow down to 2 points with which user may be available, and then you take on the remaining satellites. You have 4 satellites available. If you take 3 satellites, you will get an accurate position of the user. If you take the 4th one, you can increase that accuracy or precision with which you can use that position for any particular purpose, for maybe military purpose or entertainment purpose or civilian purpose. Okay. So we have also talked about this point earlier, and it is so important to discuss it twice: time calculation and position calculation. Okay, I hope you understood that. That is about the introduction and general operation of GPS. Now we discuss about GPS errors. What are the errors that should be anticipated when you are using a GPS system? We have about 8 main errors, and it's listed below. We will take on one by one. First one, ephemeris error. As you know, ephemeris value is the correct value or code by the satellite as directed by the master station or minor stations. If there is any error in the prediction of satellite position by the stations, ground stations, that is called as ephemeris errors. That is entirely dependent on satellite position, and it is very difficult to correct and compensate on to get the actual value. Okay. Next one, as we already know, there is an atomic clock which is very accurate on each of the satellites for GPS, and that will be giving time on the codes sent to receivers. Okay, we have already discussed that. And GPS satellites use rubidium and cesium time standards, and receivers use quartz time standard accuracy. Okay, if there is any issue on clock stability that will be reflected on the time value and distance calculation of receiver. Okay, that is clock stability error. As we know, the satellites which are transmitting these signals are at a height of 20,200 kilometers from the surface of Earth. Okay, so when these transmitted signals are reaching the atmosphere, there will be a considerable amount of dispersion and refraction of these signals at ionosphere and troposphere. These are called ionospheric and tropospheric delays. If suppose the GPS user or receiver is positioned between big buildings or rocks or reflecting structures, anything like that, you will be having multipath errors. That is, as you can see in this diagram, the receiver will receive more signals as the signals are reflected and received from the buildings and other bigger objects. Okay, so there will be an increase of travel time of signals. The distance will be measured and distance, reflected distance will also be added to the positioning. Okay, so that is an error should be aware of. Next error, dilution of precision. As the name indicates, it is based on the accuracy of distance values or position values. It is a measure of strength of satellite geometry. Wider the angle between the satellites, the better the measurement. A low dilution of precision indicates higher accuracy and high DOP indicates lower accuracy. If the satellites are wider apart, there will be higher accuracy. Precision will be high. If they are close, precision will be low. That's just that. Normally, satellite clocks which are very accurate to about 3 nanoseconds sometimes drift slightly and cause small errors. These are called satellite and receiver clock errors, and the level of these errors will be very less compared to other errors. Next one is anti-spoofing. It is intended to deny the peak code part of GPS signal. As we already know, peak code part of GPS signal is concerned with military data normally that are more private or sensitive. So these kinds of errors will be concerned with military data or secret data where a decryptor will be working on. Last one is receiver noise. It is a common type of error concerned with all type of transmissions. As the distance traveled by these signals are very high, there will be a considerable amount of noise. Noise is unwanted variations of carrier waves. Noise will be there, and because of that noise, there may be some errors in data. That is noise. It includes signal processing, clock signal synchronization and correlation methods, receiver resolution, signal to noise ratio, etc. Okay. So these are the 8 types of common errors that we find in GPS signals. Last one, application of GPS. Almost all of them are familiar to us: road transportation, aviation, shipping, rail transport, navigation by mariners or fishermen, survey, telecommunications, social activities, etc. So this is the general idea about GPS, the components, the segments, structure, and the operation level of signals receivers. Okay, thank you.